Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome, everyone, to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and a communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And today, as usual, I am here with my co-host, Stephen.
Hey, Kimberly, it's good to be with you. As you know, I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. For over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. We are bringing you back to one of our conversations from season 1 with Raquel Wilson. Raquel is the founder of Raise the Bar Investment in For Our Last Names, and she is a Do Good X alumni, having participated in our Startup Accelerator. Her work is focused on closing both the racial and gender wealth gap, teaching financial literacy, and guiding people to heal what she calls financial trauma.
Yeah, she does some much needed work, and she leverages technology to do this. And in this episode, Raquel shares actionable advice on raising capital and finding resources that are available. And she also talks about the role that her faith has played on her entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, if you've met Raquel, she is a force of nature, and how she has built her business has been phenomenal. And I think she'll have a lot here to offer. So there may be something here for you if you want to grow your business or you're thinking about building wealth.
So get ready to be inspired, because Raquel's story is inspiring and the work that she's doing is inspiring as well. And also be prepared to get something practical from this, because she shares her expertise, she shares her story, and she shares lessons learned, especially from someone who's early in the game. So let's get started. Your passion and your path and your business, it focuses on wealth gaps that exist. Can you share, just starting out, can you share 1 to 2 data points that demonstrate why this focus for you is important?
Absolutely. Well, number 1, data without a story is irrelevant. And I learned that in the classroom. So when it comes to my business and my own journey as a first generation wealth builder, the pieces of data that stick out the most to me are, number 1, McKinsey & Company found that 60% of minorities have no assets, specifically when we're looking at Black Americans being Black women and Black men. I would also say that we found that the racial wealth gap cost us upwards of $2.1 trillion. So when we're thinking about the racial wealth gap, this is usually in relation to the stocks, the assets that someone has invested in the market, or the real estate that they have owned, right? At least that's how that study specifically was drawing out that data. But specifically those 2 data points, 60% of minorities have no assets owned, and that's a problem. And also $2.1 trillion is what the cost is of the racial wealth gap to the U.S. economy, not just us as taxpayers, but the workforce as well. And so it's an individual and an institutional problem. And that's why I'm really here to help in solving it.
Share with us about how discovering the power of your voice helps give focus to the type of capital that are most fitting for you, your business, and especially as a Black woman.
Well, I would say finding my voice was more of a journey of finding the right environment, finding the right soil to be planted in the same way that certain plants are full sun and it's not wise to plant it in a partial shade place. I realized that my voice needed a certain type of support. My business needed a certain type of funding. And being a serial entrepreneur, I knew that with my first business, which, as you mentioned, the Black Wealth Freedom series in our books, that would require maybe grant funding or pitch funding or maybe even accelerator funding. But with my second business, For Our Last Names, which is a FinTech, that might require different types of funding, such as VC funding or even CDFI funding, debt funding, right? I found that when it came to understanding my voice, I had to, number one, understand who God made me to be. Number two, understand my gifts, skills, and talents. And then number three, that portion that I just talked about, where is the right place to plant this seed, to plant my voice in the current environment?
I'm wondering, as you think about your own voice and this kind of racial wealth gap is both individual and it's all institutional, to what point is helping individuals find their voice around this particular issue important to the cause? And then how do you help institutions or systems to give voice to this particular matter, particularly as it relates to closing the racial wealth gap for those who do not have any assets or very minimal assets at all?
Oh, loaded question, two-part question. And that's actually why we've developed For Our Last Names to be this two-part marketplace to support the individual in healing their financial trauma. And for those that aren't familiar with financial trauma, in short, I'll just say it's what makes your heart beat fast when you make a financial decision, right? And then the other side of how we're solving this problem with For Our Last Names is actually connecting the individual to the financial professionals they need throughout their entire wealth journey. Whether they just complete our real estate financial freedom pathway and then get connected to a non-predatory residential lender and get connected to a non-predatory realtor, right? Or someone just completes the investing pathway and now gets connected to a financial advisor, right? We understand that this $2.1 trillion cost to the U.S. economy of the racial wealth gap and other wealth gaps that are similar, like gender wealth gap, cannot be resolved by just an individual solution or just an institutional solution. We need both.
Maybe you can just share one or two tips that you think are particularly instructive for those who are trying to raise capital.
Absolutely. Number one, practice in the mirror. I'm in my home office today for those that are watching us, and quite literally next to me, I have a mirror that allows me to not only practice my business pitch, practice my personal brand pitch, but it also allows me to feel confident as I walk into meetings, whether it is virtually or in person. So practice, but also practice in the mirror, practice recording yourself. It's just so important to practice, and also practice with feedback. It's not about practice making perfect. It's practice making permanent. So how you practice is how you will perform. I ran track in high school, and we had a sweatshirt that said, pretty ugly face at practice, pretty face at the finish line, because we practice with intentionality and grit, during practice. And those are hard days. If you ran states and track, you know. But when we got to the finish line, and in business that relates to when you get to your launch day, when you get to your sales milestone, right? When you get to an impact milestone, you'll have that pretty face because you knew you put in that time in practicing. So number one, practice in the mirror, practice with feedback, practice with recording. And number two, I would say be resilient in your searching. You will get more no's than you get yeses, especially if you're looking into grants or VC, honestly, any type of funding. It's not always going to be a yes, right? So I would say just be resilient. And when you do have those wins, celebrate them within your means. In today's culture, in American westernized culture, we often discuss celebration in the form of things that you have to spend money on or spend a lot of money on. And especially as a certified financial education instructor, I have to say that not every bit of pleasure requires a lot of money to be spent, or even any money sometimes. You can celebrate by walking in nature. You can celebrate. I love to go to the park or be in my garden. I love to spend time with friends. Ultimately, celebrate as you succeed.
You are a non-technical founder of a tech-based company. So what led you to develop a tech-based business, and what challenges and what benefits have you experienced on your entrepreneurial journey given your non-technical background?
What led me to start For Our Last Names, which is this FinTech, wealth tech, ed tech company, is my background as an educator. I believe that The best founders are people that have a deep understanding of the problem and have a deep passion to solve it. And also have the ability to recruit people to help you reach that reality, right? So although I did not have the technical experience to build an app, I did have those two aspects that I just mentioned there. And I was able to recruit my mentor for my first business to then become my chief technology officer for this second and current business. So my passion is what attracted her to be my mentor. My understanding of the problem is what attracted her to be my mentor. And thankfully, she also has this will and desire to reach underserved populations as a fellow woman of color. And we were able to come together to build and create what is now and what will continue to be for our last names. So ultimately, that's just really what it took to be able to come into tech as a non-tech founder, be passionate, know the problem, and find the people that also have some similar passion and meet your weaknesses or gaps in skill.
You were a solo tech founder, which was a challenge in being accepted to or participating in various accelerators or other programs. So for entrepreneurs who are currently solo tech founders, what are some programs that they should explore that will assist them in building their business?
There are so many resources that our tax dollars pay for, so please leverage them, y'all. I will say that one that is top of mind right now is the U.S. Small Business Administration. Very grateful to have been awarded Young Entrepreneur of the Year for the state of Oklahoma from them. And they have, and their state agencies have so many different resources. So just Google your state name and then SBA. And there are resources there available for you. They can also help with government funding. I will also say that our nonprofits in our country do a great job. Forum for Theological Exploration, for example, Do Good X, amazing programs that can support throughout one's lifetime, whether you are an academic with their PhD fellowships and bringing that into your work as a founder and the research that backs what you do, or whether you are someone that just has general skills and has a passion and sees a problem, and can produce a solution. I think both government and philanthropy provide really great resources to fund your business. And you can't forget this either. Your job is your number one investor. They're a silent partner, even if they don't know it. So for those of us that are employed and also run our business, because that is how I ran my business for the first 3 of 4 years, leverage and invest your money. It's so important to invest in your business. Of course, invest in yourself because you are your first and most important asset. But know that your job is that first investor to yourself and your business. So ultimately, leverage your job, leverage the government resources, and leverage our philanthropic resources as well.
So complete this sentence. Because of my entrepreneurial endeavors, communities will be or are more able to do
liberation, communal liberation, financial liberation.
Okay. Well, what books, leaders, or organizations, or maybe even online resources should people look into if they want to join you in your cause of addressing the wealth gap through a business idea?
Well, I would be remiss to not mention my own books, not for promo of myself, but simply because there's a reason that they have reached 7 different countries and over 2,000 readers, when this was just a project that started in my own classroom here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Black Wealth Freedom series is a 3-part book series. And for those of us that are joining on video, you'll be able to see them here. They're workbooks that really help us understand how wealth gaps have been created. From the first book, Holistic Money Mindset, Mental Preparation for Abundance, we do not act because we have not been mentally unlocked. And our money mindset definitely plays a role in not only building wealth, but also retaining and transitioning wealth. So that's why it's the first book of the series, and surprisingly, a bestseller among women. When it comes to the second book, Personal Finance Crash Course, What They Didn't Teach You in School, this is based on the curriculum I taught my students, and not only goes over the words of wealth and different ways to think about investing and multiple streams of income, all of those core pieces of personal finance in 75 pages or less to make it achievable. I would say that everyone, to dismantle the wealth gaps in their own personal life, has to be financially literate. And it's not our fault that our school systems didn't teach about it, but it is our opportunity. It is an opportunity that we have now to learn, to be empowered and educated. And then this third book, the Money Moves Workbook, Achieving Your Wealth Goals in 12 Months or Less. I use this. I still use this to this day in digitized form. And that's also why our workbooks, when purchased from our website, have the digital copies as well. But I use this to be able to move halfway across the country right upon graduation, to be able to have the money for that. I use this to pay off my student loans. I use this to purchase my first car. I use this to purchase both of my homes. I would not be able to personally dismantle the racial wealth gap and gender wealth gap in my life without implementing these tools. And that's the only way I could have created them, from implementation within my own life and my own journey, as well as the knowledge I've learned as being a certified financial education instructor.
Can you share where people can purchase your books? And we'll also share those in the show notes as well.
Yes. Well, our books can be purchased individually, as well as bookstores that are looking into host our book in their stores at rtbinvestments.org. That stands for Raise the Bar Investments, because we raise the bar for your mind and money. Now, if you're interested in learning more about our app or getting signed up for the wait list, we also have our workbooks linked on that website, and that is forourlastnames.io, as in building generational wealth for our last names.
So thank you also for sharing Do Good X as a plug, as a supporter for potential entrepreneurs. And if you are early in the entrepreneurial journey and want to access more resources to help build your business for good, go to dogoodx.org. Here you can find resources and join our Do Good X LinkedIn community, where we share tools and tips and provide entrepreneurs and change makers with a community of support. So we hope that you join us.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.